Thanks for having me. So we're going to hang out with my title card for a little bit while I talk a bit about comics and image description, which I'm going to do with my comic tonight. I'm going to build myself a little house here. Okay, hello. My name is Sabine Rear, and I'm a cartoonist, a zine maker, and the cute blind lady you gave your seat to on the bus. Thank you. I'm going to take a minute to talk about my art practice, and then I'm going to read a comic to you. As a blind woman, I'm aware of the perceived contradiction of making visual art as a supposedly non-visual person, and since folks like to point this out to me, I'd like to start this reading by talking about how blindness interacts with visual art for me. The vision that I have acts as a sort of a style guide and a boundary for the type of work that I take in and the type of work I make. I love being blind because it allows me to be specific aesthetically, and I've developed a sort of a personal blind aesthetics. I know what I like when I see it, and I know what I don't fuck with. Which is such a fun set of boundaries to explore. Like, I know that Mark Rothko's color-field paintings bring sighted people to tears, but I don't see color, so I don't fuck with Rothko. And it's a really fun feeling to just feel free from some things aesthetically, and in turn focus on others. Most blind people have some sight, which is a kind of a common misconception. But what we each have is pretty variable. Which tends to mean that we all have different constraints for taking in visual art that impact our tastes. And that's something I think is really exciting to consider and a cool part of existing in that kind of visual specificity. So I got into making zines as a way to share what I learned about disability studies when I was in college. I was so excited to find my body in academia, and especially in disability studies, which I feel like is a real place of play in the academic world, but I struggled to talk about it, and I think comics for me occupied this show and tell space that I found really, really useful in terms of talking about my body and my community and my experience in public space. I'm going to keep noodling with this. Okay, so tonight I'm going to read a comic called Empathy Exercise, which addresses ableist classroom simulations of disability as compared to disabled experience. I've read this comic quite a bit since I made it in 2017, but I think it's really important, and this will be the first time I've performed it with prepared image description, which I'm pretty excited to get the opportunity to do. So image description is one way to augment visual information for blind people, and it's something I'm trying to improve on in my own work. Most folks think of museum tours when they think about image description, those headsets that tell you, like, the painting is a rectangle. But I think image description is often addressed in this very, like, factual place of things like that, like the sculpture is 6 feet tall or whatever. And I don't think that that is truthful to what art is. So describing art in a fact-based way, I think, is pretty not particularly useful in terms of getting a feel for art itself. It comes from the assumption that blind people want to be filled in on everything they're missing out on, rather than the idea that for some blind people, this description is the art, and for others it's simply supplementary. So I'm interested in image description that acknowledges the inherent subjectivity of describing art, and I hope my descriptions are comprehensive enough to paint a picture, but evocative enough to expand on what is already visible. I like image description as auxiliary to artwork or a secret code. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and refer to myself in the first person when I read these comics because it's a little easier to describe for me, and I like being honest about how all my work is pretty self-involved. All my work is in black and white, and I will not be making any note of color beyond those values in my description. Okay, and then to indicate slide changes, what's the best way to do that?
You want to just say, like, next slide?
Yeah, you got it. Next slide. A black cloth lays across a desk, and behind it there is a whiteboard on which is written empathy exercise, M. Sabine Rear. A word balloon coming from out of frame reads, "Today you will learn what it feels like to be a blind person. You will wear a blindfold for the duration of class, and at the end of class, you will understand the blind and truly appreciate your own sense of sight." Next slide. 3 panels. In the first, I am reflected in the mirror, putting in my contacts. I have short hair and I'm wearing a black shirt. In the second panel, I have changed into a striped shirt, a skirt, and boots. And I'm asking my partner, "Is this skirt red?" To which he replies, "Yes, like 75% of your clothes are red." In the third panel, I appear flustered and ask, "Have you seen my keys?" To which he responds, "Yep, they're on the table." Next. An image of 2 hands holding a length of black cloth. Inscribed in white over the cloth, the educator asks, "Are you afraid now that you are blind? Does the world feel large and unknowable?" Next. 2 rows of 3 panels. The first 3 are a series of actions. In a close shot, I put on large sunglasses with a whip. My cane extends with a clack, 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 clack. And my boots are visible as I begin to walk with my cane with a tap, tap, tap. In the second row, the first panel is silent and depicts the bus stop and the road, and a sign for bus number 35. In the second panel, the bus driver asks, "Which stop do you need?" "North Albina, please," I reply. "Okay," he says, "and there's a seat open on the left. Thank you." In the third panel, I'm seated on the bus, knitting. Next. An image of 2 students seated at a desk with black blindfolds on, which fades to black as it is read from left to right. The black contains a word balloon which reads, "Now that you are blind, you may notice that your senses and instincts are heightened like a nocturnal animal." Next. 3 panels. In the first, I disembark from the bus with a "thank you." 3 motion lines follow me and I look rather jaunty. In the second, I walk past a man at a bus stop who says, "Hey baby, I'll be your seeing eye dog." His sweatshirt reads, "Ugh." In the third panel, I flip him off without looking back with another whip. Next. A wide black panel with a large word balloon that reads, "Now try getting up and moving around. Use these new animal instincts. Can you find your way to the door?" The rest of the panel is filled with various emanata, which is the comics word for sound effect images, and crashing sounds. Like those. Next. 3 panels in an office setting. In the first, I'm seated at my computer, squinting. In the second, a man is leaning over the divider of my cubicle, asking, "Do you need a bigger monitor?" To which I reply, "Nope." In the third, he follows up with, "Well, what's wrong with your eyes?" To which I reply with a word balloon containing ellipses. Next. A wide black panel, undisturbed. Next. 2 sets of 3 panels. The first set opens on my legs and cane and a grocery basket. In a word balloon, I ask from out of frame, "Hello, can you help me find the peanut butter?" In the second panel, a thumb jerks helpfully in a direction and replies, yeah, aisle 7. In the third, I find myself staring down a wall of indistinguishable jars. In the second set of panels, I appear similarly intimidated, staring at a distant and indistinct coffee counter. The second panel is split on the diagonal. In the upper triangle, I hold an object to my eye, which I will tell you is called a monocular, like half of binoculars. The lower triangle is black with an illuminated circle inside of which the word latte is written in cursive. I am reading the menu from afar. The third panel is a close shot of me triumphantly drinking from a to-go coffee cup. Next. A wide panel, fading from black to white when read from left to right. In the leftmost black portion, a word balloon from the out-of-frame educator reads, "Now you may remove your blindfolds. You are no longer blind. How do you feel? Inspired? Afraid?" The remainder of the frame is consumed by the chatter of competing word balloons which read, "That was scary. How sad. Have you ever seen a blind person? What? No. Those dogs are so cute. Can you imagine never watching a movie again? That sucks." Next. A black blindfold on a white background. Next. A wide panel in which my partner and I sit watching TV. I am holding a beer and leaning in toward the screen. He has a bowl in his lap and an arm around me. In the upper left corner, a jagged, enthusiastic word balloon transgresses the frame and says, "Introducing first, the challenger, weighing in at 250 pounds, my word balloon interjects. As I ask, "What does that say?" To which Eric replies, "It says he used to be an Olympic wrestler. Also, there's a sign in the crowd that says, 'Die Hard is a Christmas movie.'" Thank you.